Blake Lively texted Justin Baldoni and was like, I know you haven't seen Game of Thrones, but I'm Khaleesi and I've got 2 dragons. The 2 dragons are, of course, her husband Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
And he made it very clear that some of the things that Blake was afraid of coming out in court were not things that Wayfarer was actively pursuing.
Attorneys' eyes only designation to protect, as they term it, highly confidential information that could destroy the careers of the third-party people that are involved.
This just in, Justin Baldoni's team has issued a response in opposition to dismiss the New York Times. And there is a bit of a smoking gun.
Ryan Reynolds canceled? Hollywood's golden boy just got the boot? And the jaw-dropping reason behind his downfall? Blake Lively's shocking mistake. What was meant to be a power move backfired so badly it wrecked their biggest movie deal and sent studio execs into a furious meltdown. Now, whispers of a blacklist are swirling, and insiders say Ryan's career may never recover. How did Blake's reckless decision destroy everything? And is this the end of Ryan Reynolds in Hollywood?
And I suspect that might be making Ryan Reynolds extremely nervous, and I'll tell you why.
Ryan Reynolds is furious. And the reason? Blake Lively's shocking betrayal. Her reckless move just got them blacklisted from Hollywood, destroying their biggest deal overnight. Their once perfect empire is crumbling, and Ryan is facing the fallout of a scandal he never saw coming. How did Blake ruin everything? And can their marriage survive the chaos?
Lively vs. Baldoni. How right-wing influencers are weaponizing the fight to take down #MeToo.
Hollywood's golden couple is in crisis, and the tension is impossible to ignore. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds aren't just making headlines, they're making enemies. Their latest film, Another Simple Favor, has been torn apart by critics, and the backlash is only getting worse. What went so wrong? And why is Hollywood turning its back on them?
I don't know how much is going to come through in the transcript that can be read now, but audibly, because we were able to call in to that hearing and listen to it, there did seem to be a lot of stress and a lot of tension, particularly when it came to those points.
But instead, it turned into a total disaster. Critics slammed it as dull, forced, and completely unnecessary. While most would blame the writing or direction, insiders say the real problem was Blake and Ryan themselves. Their constant clashes and over-the-top PR games drained the life out of the production. What was meant to be a fun sequel spiraled into chaos, leaving Hollywood questioning if this power couple is more trouble than they're worth.
It felt almost like nervously so from her team of how much that clearly was the most important thing for them.
A simple favor? More like a total disaster. The toxic cloud surrounding Blake and Ryan was too thick for the film to escape. Top critics from The Hollywood Reporter and Variety didn't hold back, ripping the movie apart as stale, exhausting, and utterly pointless. But instead of just blaming the script, all eyes turned to Blake and Ryan's non-stop drama. Audiences have had enough. The industry is losing patience. And now, Hollywood is questioning if this once-beloved couple is officially past their expiration date.
Her books are so good you can't put them down. I believe this is her first book that was made into a movie. He read it. He wanted it to be like a serious movie about domestic violence.
Every time they hit the red carpet, the tension is unbearable. Their presence turns every event into a storm of whispers, side eyes, and exhaustion. Sure, sequels often struggle to match the original, but Blake and Ryan's non-stop chaos made this one doomed from the start. The entire production was overshadowed, not by creative struggles, but by Blake's ugly legal battles and Ryan's constant interference behind the scenes. With the press tearing into their every move, the film never stood a chance.
It just, given what we're looking at and what's happening and the backlash and everything else, I can't imagine Blake's celebrity friends are happy that it's gotten to this point.
Blake and Ryan turned Another Simple Favor into a spectacle, just not the kind anyone wanted. Their constant drama overshadowed the film, leaving audiences more annoyed than entertained. Even before its release, rumors of Blake's meltdown had set the stage for disaster.
And she, along with Sony, she wanted to build her brand, she being Blake Lively, and she wanted to be like florally rom-com. I'm Lily Bloom, and I work at a flower shop. Get it?
Blake's so-called meltdown exploded after brutal early reviews, not just from critics, but from special screening audiences too. Her legal troubles loomed over the film, turning bad press into a full-blown crisis. Meanwhile, Ryan wasn't just watching, he was deep in the chaos, twisting media narratives and taking aim at anyone who questioned them.
The judge heard the arguments. I felt Friedman made the better case.
Every attempt to salvage their image only made things worse. Their public appearances felt desperate, and fans saw right through the damage control. A source from the production revealed the tension was unbearable, worse than anyone expected. Directors and producers struggled as Blake's legal troubles overshadowed everything, turning the entire project into a disaster.
So she was like, wear your floral prints and come see the movie, gals. Every day is Galentine's Day.
Ryan's constant interference only made things messier. What started as a hopeful sequel quickly became a spectacle of personal drama. Rather than focusing on making the movie better, Blake and Ryan poured their energy into PR games and desperate damage control. The result? A film critics dismissed as forgettable, frustrating, and a complete waste of time.
The judge was calling both of them out. He was attempting to keep things being neutral, but there were definitely moments where Brian's arguments felt stronger than the other side.
Behind the scenes, the tension was impossible to ignore. Blake and Anna's once friendly dynamic had turned ice cold, with Anna dodging questions about their relationship and keeping her distance at events. Fans quickly caught on, noticing how Blake's social media posts seemed desperate to paint a different picture, one that Anna clearly wanted no part of.
Sony sided with her, and everyone's like, why did Sony side with her when he wanted the movie cut this way? He wanted the movie marketed this way because she is Mrs. Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan's vague and calculated statements only made things worse, fueling speculation rather than shutting it down. Every attempt to control the narrative backfired, making the situation even messier. Meanwhile, Blake's legal drama with Justin Baldoni cast a long shadow over everything. She made shocking accusations, but without solid proof, the public remained skeptical. Ryan, instead of stepping back, doubled down on PR tactics, trying to spin the situation in their favor, but all it did was add more chaos to an already crumbling reputation.
And he made it very clear that some of the things that Blake was afraid of coming out in court were not things that Wayfarer was actively pursuing.
Their desperate attempts to control the narrative only made things worse. Locking down comment sections and censoring criticism backfired spectacularly, making them look even more guilty. Fans quickly spotted the flood of suspicious accounts showering Blake with exaggerated praise, raising suspicions of a PR stunt gone wrong. The fallout wasn't just their problem anymore, it dragged down the entire cast and crew, leaving everyone scrambling to distance themselves from the chaos.
And Sony didn't want to piss off Blake Lively because they didn't want to piss off Ryan Reynolds.
Director Paul Feig, often called a diva whisperer, did everything he could to save the film, but even his skills weren't enough to contain the chaos. He poured effort into making the sequel work, only to watch it get buried under Blake and Ryan's never-ending drama. While he tried to hype up the movie, audiences were far more interested in the swirling rumors and visible tension. His weak attempts to dismiss the Blake-Anna feud, nobody bought it.
As new articles come out sort of weaponizing the political ideologies that might be trying to dismantle beliefs involved in this.
Fans saw right through the forced smiles, and every denial only fueled the speculation. Once reviews started rolling in, it was clear the film had serious issues. Critics slammed the sluggish pacing and awkward script, but the real disaster was Blake and Ryan themselves. Their crumbling image, shady PR moves, and non-stop drama completely overshadowed any real conversation about the movie itself.
When Blake Lively is harmed, Ryan Reynolds gets involved. And so that's what we learned from this whole thing.
The film itself faded into the background as the chaos surrounding Blake and Ryan took center stage. Instead of discussing the plot, everyone fixated on their manipulative tactics and crumbling public image. Then came reports that they had enlisted a PR fixer with alleged ties to intelligence work, a desperate move that only confirmed how far they were willing to go to control the narrative.
We don't think we should have to present some of our text messages in Discovery with our high-profile clients, that being Taylor Swift and whoever else. Some people say Bradley Cooper and whatever other friends of Blake Lively might get sucked into this.
Their obsession with controlling the narrative only fueled more backlash. Instead of addressing concerns directly, they relied on behind-the-scenes manipulation, suspicious online defenders, and shady PR tactics. But their strategy collapsed as people caught on. What could have been a simple film release turned into a cautionary tale of Hollywood desperation and deceit.
She sued him harassment. The New York Times published basically all of the claims that she had made against him. If this were in the middle of the Me Too movement, he would have been canceled. And he's like, no, I didn't do anything wrong.
The backlash was swift and brutal. Critics and audiences called out the couple's desperate attempt to fake hype, labeling it one of Hollywood's worst PR disasters. Social media exploded with accusations of review bombing and score manipulation, tarnishing their once golden reputation. Instead of addressing the controversy, Blake and Ryan stuck to their usual scripted responses. But at this point, no one was buying it. Even major streaming platforms reportedly distanced themselves, wary of being linked to the scandal. What started as a bad sequel had spiraled into a full-blown credibility crisis. The real question now, can they ever recover?
Justin Baldoni's side argued that they think that she shouldn't receive any preferential treatment because she's famous, and we need to see all this information. We'll redact it, we'll keep it from the public, and they say, no, you'll leak it.
As the chaos escalated, people started questioning whether Blake and Ryan's entire image was just a carefully crafted illusion. Their desperate attempts to control the narrative only fueled more backlash, turning their PR game into a full-blown disaster. Paul Feig tried to keep the production afloat, but whispers circulated that even his wife Laura was involved in the mess. Crew members felt trapped, caught between their actual jobs and the non-stop drama Blake and Ryan dragged onto the set. What should have been a simple sequel became a battleground of hidden agendas, suspicious fan behavior, and a never-ending war over public perception. And Blake's ongoing legal fight with Baldoni, just another layer in the disaster, filled with accusations but zero solid proof.
What he was saying is, I didn't do anything wrong. Ryan Reynolds gargled my marbles, and here are the texts that shows just how much he loved me, which is really, great for him.
Critics saw it as nothing more than a last-ditch effort to distract from the film's failures, a cheap ploy for sympathy that fooled no one. Many who supported the Me Too movement felt insulted, believing that if the claims were legitimate, they would have been handled with sincerity, not used as a PR stunt. The situation worsened when fans noticed Blake's social media posts were immediately locked down. Instead of encouraging discussion, she and Ryan carefully filtered comments, allowing only glowing praise while deleting anything remotely critical. This blatant censorship only fueled suspicions that they were more concerned with controlling the narrative than telling the truth.
The public is entitled to see different court papers. Everything's supposed to be public, right? Freedom of Information Act is supposed to be public, but in certain cases like this, sure.
Taylor Swift fan accounts and obvious bots swarmed comment sections, parroting identical praise for Blake and Ryan while shutting down criticism. The forced positivity felt staged, making it clear a PR machine was in overdrive. What should have been just a mediocre sequel turned into a spectacle of damage control and deception. Any redeeming moments in Another Simple Favor were buried under Blake and Ryan's obsession with controlling the narrative. Instead of saving the film, their tactics only made its downfall more dramatic.
Blake Lively texted Justin Baldoni and was like, I know you haven't seen Game of Thrones, but I'm Khaleesi and I've got 2 dragons. The 2 dragons are, of course, her husband Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
Word spread fast, and public opinion soured. Some vowed never to watch anything starring Blake or Ryan again. Even those who gave the movie a chance found the off-screen chaos more interesting than the film itself, a train wreck they couldn't look away from. Despite the backlash, Blake and Ryan kept showing up at events, flashing forced smiles and dodging tough questions. Instead of addressing their controversies, they played the victim, blaming critics and haters, rather than acknowledging their role in the disaster. This relentless spin only made them look worse. The chaos impacted the entire production. Director Paul Feig struggled to keep things professional, but insiders whispered that even his wife Laura got caught up in the mess. Cast and crew found themselves trapped in a PR war they never signed up for, overshadowing any real discussion about the film itself. Anna Kendrick, once friendly with Blake, now kept her distance. She gave curt answers in interviews, avoided eye contact, and left events quickly. Fans noticed. They praised her quiet refusal to play along with Blake and Ryan's PR circus. Meanwhile, Blake and Ryan's desperate attempts to control the narrative grew laughable. Rumors swirled that their PR team included a former intelligence operative. Social media flooded with suspiciously identical praise for the film. Skeptics documented these bot-like accounts, further proving the couple's obsession with perception over reality. The real tragedy? The film itself barely mattered. Reviews pointed to weak writing and clunky pacing, but all discussions kept circling back to Blake and Ryan's antics. Even as they scrambled to spin the story, the public had already decided this was a masterclass in manipulation, not movie making. Their meltdown became a Hollywood cautionary tale. Instead of letting their work speak for itself, Blake and Ryan buried it under deception, bot armies, and fake praise. Their legacy isn't another simple favor. It's the desperate, disastrous attempt to control what people think. And in the end, they fooled no one. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more juicy updates, because this drama is not over yet.